Hey guys, welcome back to Talking Football with Joe and John. I'm Joe, joined with John, and Steelers play football on Saturday, 7 p.m. They play the Seattle Seahawks in the first preseason game, and I mean, it's just such a welcome sight to have football back.
For sure, Joe. I mean, football fans have been just waiting and craving for this time of year. It was so long, if it felt like, without football. And to see the preseason start even last night with the Ravens Titans game and even Giants Patriots, it's just great that football's back and so many things to look forward to, obviously, for the Steelers in the Seahawks game. So it cannot come any sooner.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, camp has been underway for now 2 weeks. There's been a lot of storylines over there. One is George Pickens. He's been absolutely lighting everyone up. And I'm almost concerned about it because I think George Pickens is going to be a great receiver, but apparently no one in camp can cover him. And it's just like, so how are you going to cover Jamar Chase if you can't cover rookie George Pickens right now?
Yeah, I think it's more concerning about their secondary than George Pickens. Like,
I think the exact same thing.
I mean, we know the Steelers secondary has been notoriously bad for many years, and obviously this year it took a hit losing, some of those key guys. And I mean, I know Cam Sutton's had a pretty good camp, they've said. They're asking obviously a lot of him, but he's really not a cornerback
He's a
one.
slot. He's a
He's a
slot
slot.
corner. He's a
Yeah.
great slot cornerback. Okay on the outside.
Yeah, and I think they might have him on the outside a little bit more just because they just don't have that depth and that star power with Joe Hayden gone and Steven Nelson. Like it I don't know what they're going to do with this secondary because I could see teams in their own division just throwing for 500 yards against them,
Yeah.
every game.
I think it's the big thing. It's the debate. Do you rather have a star edge rusher or a lockdown corner? Because I mean, if Akella Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, and Cam Sutton can lock guys up if they can keep guys blanketed for like 4 seconds, you might get a sack. You might cause mayhem because that front seven looks like it's going to be insane. TJ Watt just wrecking things in practice so far.
Oh yeah.
Cam Hayward's Cam Hayward, and Larry Ogunjobi's look great from what he's been playing. But
Mm-hmm.
if they can't, I just feel like it's going to look a lot like 2014, 2018 again, where, the front seven looks good, but that secondary is just awful.
I think that can easily happen. And you talk about like the front seven. I mean, TJ Watt being great in practice. I mean, defensive player of the year. I think you never know. He could repeat. I mean, depending on, they're going to ask so much of him again this season, especially like you said, if the secondary is really weak. Um, but I mean, throughout the rest of the guys, I mean, Cam Hayward, no surprises there. I mean, Tyson Alualu, I think he was on the physically unable to perform list for what half of the camp so far, and they haven't really played him a lot. Yeah, Larry Ajinobi, I think, has been really fun. They said he's really good if like he's getting double teamed by two offensive linemen and being able to shed those tackles and everything and shed the blocking, excuse me. So he's another guy that's just going to only add to that front seven. I know there's been a little bit of controversy with the defensive tackle four spot with Isaiah Loudermilk, Chris Wormley. Um, Interesting to hear what you think about that, Joe. Just because we know that big three, especially with Alualu back, I think is set, and now with this fourth spot, I think they might just maybe rotate some of these guys in. Um, they said even a guy like DeMarvin Leal and Carlos Davis. I mean, guys that are getting reps and look good in them, but maybe not as consistent as probably Mike Tomlin hopes them to be.
Yeah, I'm intrigued for that one too, because I mean, I feel like Wormley had the best season out of all of them last season. I think Loudermilk could be good. Like he could take a jump this year. It's his sophomore season. I thought he looked pretty decent last year, all things considered. Leal, I've heard, has had a really good camp. I mean, he's going to make the team, Leal. That's not really a question. Him and Loudermilk, I think, are pretty much locks for the team. Wormley as well. The question is who's going to be fourth. You're right there. Adams is an interesting one because he just got injured.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I
Montrez,
always liked him a lot. I thought he was great last year. And I think one of the benefits that he has over everyone else is how twitchy he is. He gets off the line like that. And he may not be the best player out of all those guys, but I think he might have the highest potential if, the team could craft right and build around him. So hopefully he doesn't miss too much time injured and ends up getting cut because of his injury. But I'd like to see him a lot more.
yeah, I would too. And I think everything you said makes sense for that the defensive front seven. And I mean, I guess we could switch gears to the linebacker core where I really think it's great that they already said Miles Jack looks really, really good in
Oh,
camp. We knew he was going to be a good linebacker. Even I just still remember him terrorizing us from his Jacksonville days. But one interesting thing I've been reading, and I saw a little bit on Twitter too, is that like Devin Bush has been rotating a lot with Jack and Robert Spillane, which kind of shows that Bush has been, I guess, okay. They say he hasn't done that well. We're like obviously he's coming off a down season, but he hasn't, you know, shown the bounce back yet. Only through camp. Maybe that'll change in the preseason. That's a guy that I'm sure we'll get to at the end of our show that you really have to look out for in this preseason to see if he's taking any more steps to improve defensively.
yeah, I've heard Spillane's been better than him this preseason.
Yeah,
I've
I
heard
have too.
Spillane has been making splash plays, and that um, Devin Bush isn't playing terrible, but he's just not doing anything splashy splash plays. So that's concerning, man. They traded up for him. I was a big proponent of them trading up for him. I thought it was gonna be a great move. He looked great until that ACL injury, but it's getting to the point where it's like this could be one of the worst trades in franchise history.
Uh,
It's up there, man. They
it's a bad
traded.
one. Franchise history.
How
They,
many bad trades have the Steelers really had in franchise history, though? At least
yeah.
in recent, since the Super Bowl era,
And Devin Bush pre-injury
was
was
good.
unstoppable. He was great, and he's just like a shell of what he was of his former self. I think at this point, at
Yeah,
least what it seems like. And it may take, hopefully by maybe mid-season, he's somewhat back to that level. I don't think he can ever go. It's hard to say he'll ever go back to that level just because that was such a bad injury. But it's definitely concerning to see that he's getting outplayed by Robert Spillane when, like you said, they moved that draft capital for him.
yeah. And the question is, who's going to be wearing the green dot? Because Miles Jack isn't going to be wearing the green dot, nor should he, because Jack doesn't really play as well wearing the green dot for some reason. So it's either
No,
going to be Spillane or Bush. And apparently, from what I heard, I watched the Arthur Moats podcast sometimes, and what he says is that Spillane's the better communicator there, but Bush is the better athlete. So
got to give it to the communicator.
I agree. You got to give it to the guy because he's like you might be getting able to do some more things with Devin Bush, but the problem was he was saying is every once in a while you might have half the team running one defense, the other half running the other thing. It's like okay, Spillane, get in there. Let's go.
Yeah, like I feel like with that whole with having a green dot, it's not even who's the best player in that situation. It's the best, leader and communicator and the one
Yeah,
that's able to facilitate the defense and execute the game plan.
yeah.
So
I
I think
agree
that should be
100%.
explained.
I think at that point just play Spillane and try to hide him in the defense. Try to
I
try
think,
to scheme so that he's not on an island.
yeah, at that point, like there's ways to there's better solutions having Spillane as in that position as opposed to Devin Bush, just because, like you said, they're able to execute some sort of game plan that would allow him to not be on an island like that. So
Yeah,
that's
because
why they took
I
him.
don't like Spillane blitzing, playing the run. I'm fine with that mostly. Again, we could do better, but like at that point, it's not awful. The problem is when you put Spillane on a tight end or a running back, you already had a mismatch. A linebacker on a running back or a linebacker on a tight end is already a mismatch.
Yeah,
Now you're putting a guy who runs what does Spillane run, a 4.5, 4.6? Like
something like that. I thought it was 4.6. I could be wrong though. Yeah, no, he's gonna get carved up, and Steelers have always had an issue defending just dynamic running backs and really good tight ends like the Mark Andrews is the Travis Kelsey's. They're just from
the
the last couple.
Gronks. Oh
And
my
Gronk. So
gosh.
yeah, they still get PTSD to some of those Patriot games like in his prime. But again, Gronk carved up everyone, but the Steelers just had no
It
answer.
just felt like it was always like remember when we drafted Shazier and it was like Shazier's going to cover Gronk and then just didn't. And they
Well,
drafted Sean Davis and he was supposed to cover Gronk and then just didn't work.
I guess that has Gronk is one of the best tight ends to ever play. That's
I'm so happy we don't have to see him this year. They're tired. Thank God.
oh yeah, he would have been at that Bucks game, man, the
Yeah.
game I'm going to. But it's fine. I'm always a big proponent now. Shout out to my roommate Mark Nicolelli, who always instilled this into me right early on that I the mindset of you should just beat the team with all their players. Don't worry about who's out or anything like that. Because I feel like it's even more satisfying if you beat a team at full strength opposed to
Oh
not.
yeah, 100%.
Like I know it sounds really dumb and simple, but it really is. Like
Yeah.
you want to beat a team at full capacity because I know a win's a win, and in the NFL, if you take any win you can just because the season's so short. But I think it would have been poetic justice that the Steelers somehow beat the Bucs this year with Brady and Gronk. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's because Brady just owned the Steelers for so long.
Oh my God.
It's true. And
It
I mean,
is
that game, I think, is going to get ugly, personally. I mean, I'm so excited to go.
ugly
But
as in like ugly as in the Bucks are gonna blow the Steelers out, or ugly as in like it's gonna get chippy.
both. Because I think the Steelers are going to get really frustrated because Brady just absolutely just knows every weakness the Steelers defense have always had.
Yeah.
Even back to his New England days. It's just always been like that,
Oh,
unfortunately.
fires on blitz. Like, Steelers defense stops everyone but him. It's infuriating.
Yeah, even in their prime, like it was always just, oh, you can't
Yeah.
stop. I mean, again, a testament to Tom Brady and Gronk. These are two of the best players in NFL history in their positions. Like, but it's just, there's some defenses in years past that have been able to stop them, but the Steelers just weren't one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, and going back to camp, um, moving to the offense now, just because I think we've probably hit on almost every defensive point. Um, Definitely sucks that Najee Harris got hurt early in camp. I know we texted about that, Joe. That is not good. I mean, he's their guy. He's, in some fantasy drafts, I was even looking at some mock drafts because my leagues are starting soon. He's going first round. Like, this is a guy that's going to
No,
get.
I'm taking him first round. I have the 7th overall pick in one of my drafts. I'm
Oh,
taking him.
yeah. I saw 7 or 8 for most slots. I mean, he's a guy, so I think someone stepped on his foot. Um, they're going to keep him on the bench probably till the season
Yeah,
starts.
I think he's fine. I think it's just like put him in bubble wrap until the season starts, type of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't even let him. I mean, he's gonna get so many touches and carries this year. There's no point in playing him the preseason
And
whatsoever.
apparently all the backup running backs look pretty good. Jalen Warren is the name that's been popping out too. It's just like let them get touches in preseason. Let's see what we have behind him.
Yeah, they said
And
Jalen Warren looks good. Anthony McFarland, they said, was like inconsistent. Like they said, some days he look good, some days he doesn't. Benny Snell. Oh, now that's a guy we have to talk about.
I love Benny Snell football. I love Benny Snell
I,
football.
I I love his style, but I just don't think he's that good. Like,
Yeah, the problem is he doesn't have the speed. And
he doesn't. Yeah. But they said he was having like I was reading Mark Habley from The Athletic. I was reading a lot of his stuff. He said that he was having the best camp of his career before he hurt his knee. I think it was a couple of days ago, just because the way that style of running. But we've seen him play at the NFL level, like during the regular season. Nothing much.
the
It's
weird
just
thing with him is he'll like have like really good games at some times, and then other times he's not doing anything. It's like I specifically remember the Bengals game and the Browns game from 2019 where I was like, okay, Benny's not looking that bad here. But then it's just like other games where it's like, and
yeah,
remember the Giants game? Didn't he have like 100 yards in the Giants game in 2020 to open the season?
yeah. That was a Monday Night Football game. I remember
Yeah, so
that.
it's weird. It's like sometimes he has like these great games. It's like, okay, I see what's going on here, and then it's just like he can't do anything the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And I mean, Jalen Warren. They said, I mean, he's an undrafted free agent. Give him a shot. We'll see what he does during the preseason. Maybe he'll show out again against Seattle, and he's got a bunch of opportunities now. Give him a shot. Behind Najee Harris, he could be dynamic.
Yeah, him. Master Teague, I've heard some good things about too.
Mm-hmm. I've heard some good things about him too. And the receiving core. I mean, we have to obviously bring up Deontay Johnson getting his deal.
That's huge.
Mixed feelings about that.
That's a great deal for the team, though. That's a
I think
amazing
so
deal for
too.
the team.
But
They got him on a discount.
they did get him on a discount. He's got to fix the drops issue when you're getting paid that money. Like now, there's no excuse. You got to fix it.
He was like on the one of the lower portions of people who dropped. The problem was he would just drop it in bad situations.
No,
Like
I
he
know.
didn't have that. His percentage of drop was like 3%. It was actually pretty low. But
Yeah.
the problem was at the end of the season, it just all came up again. It's a confidence issue with him.
Well, he better have confidence now with his deal. Like that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to crank it all together, put it all together. He's got paid now. He's got a ball now. And
I'm a Deontay stan.
oh wow, yeah, you love that guy.
You can't even see it. No.
Yeah, your background's covering
up. Yeah, but shout out Wilner for making me the background for my phone.
Wilner Lewis, big Ravens fan, but was able to fraternize with the enemy for Joe Camarota.
Love
it. I also heard. Well, Chase Claypool obviously got hurt with the shoulder injury. Haven't seen a lot of him. We talked about Pickens already. The Cavalier article I read, they said Calvin Austin, obviously draft pick from this year, gets lumped in with the past failures Chris Rainey and Dre Archer, quote unquote, from Mark Cavalier from the Athletic. I
That's weird
mean,
'cause I've heard good things about him.
that's what I mean. Like I've seen a bunch of different things. I haven't really watched a lot of his stuff from camp yet, so I really can't respond to it. I just thought it was interesting. I mean, I remember Dre Archer just as a specialty back, punt returner kind of guy. They said Calvin Austin's speed looked really good. Um, Again, at this time of the year, you kind of got to take everything with a grain of salt what you read, just because it's so early. It's camp. Preseason will be a better indicator. Um, they said Anthony Miller also looks good too. I thought I heard.
Him and Steven Sims, I've heard, have looked pretty good.
Steven Sims. They said Miles Boykin is like shaky for the most part. Connor Hayward, talking about tight ends now and their receiving.
He's apparently looked amazing.
Yeah, which I think that's great for narrative purposes, just having his brother on the team. They said he looks more of like a receiver than a tight end, which that's a good issue to have. I think it's better to get the receiving part out of the way. But also, I mean, this is Pat Fryermuth's,
Yeah.
tight end corps. It's the way.
I want to see Zach and Gentry keep going. He was so fun to watch last year.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, they said I think he's dropped a lot of passes in practice. And I mean, they're probably going to use him more for blocking.
Yeah.
Which makes
Gentry's
sense.
a blocker.
He is a blocker.
He's the Matt Spaeth to Fryermuth Heath Miller.
That's a perfect comparison. Yeah, Matt Spaeth, Steelers. I remember him. And shout out Heath Miller. Right, he got what was
Hall of Honor.
Hall of Honor. That's what it was.
Whatever
I'm very excited. Grew up with that guy. I mean, I grew up watching him. I didn't know him, but I'm saying like, it's great to see people like that who's very underrated. I feel throughout his entire NFL career get recognition.
Yeah, and I like the fact that him and Muth, they kind of like have a bit of a relationship too. Because
that picture was great.
The Bears game, they were talking for a while, and then when Heath came back to camp for his like the announcement, Muth came over. They talked for a while too. So anything that Heath Miller can rub off on Pat, that's huge.
Yeah. And I think for a quarterback, I'm saying like Kenny Pickett because he is the future. I mean, the other two guys, so we're gonna get to in a sec, whatever. Like for Kenny Pickett to have that safe option to dump the ball to the guy who's athletic, having Ben always had Heath Miller to bail him out, so to say, if things went wrong. Having a guy like that early on in your career is huge for your development.
Yeah,
it really is.
And he catches everything. The guy catches everything.
I know.
And he's not that bad of a blocker either. Like, he's just great. I think that pick is going to turn into be insane. Like, I get Heath Miller vibes from it. I don't get
the second we saw him, we said that he looked like Heath Miller.
Yeah. I remember they were saying, what was his nickname originally? It was like Baby Gronk. And he was like, I don't like that compared to Gronk. Yeah. So we're like, okay, give him a little Muth, like Heath.
Yeah. No, I like that. And now all right, so now we got to switch to the biggest question, I think, throughout.
Oh, wait, before that, I want to say this about the wide receivers.
Yeah.
If I see Chase Claypool in a 3 wide receiver set playing on the outside instead of slot, I'm going to have an absolute breakdown. There's no reason this guy should be playing on the outside when we have Deontay and George Pickens there. Put him in the slot. He's a matchup nightmare in the slot. Why would you put him in the outside?
I mean, his size.
What were you say?
His size.
Yeah, inside. Keep him inside.
I know, but I'm saying they probably like him on the outside too because he has the jump catching ability. He's able to.
He has the jump catching ability, but he gets beaten by corners all the time. He's so big, but he can't catch a jump ball to save his life.
Well, that's something you got to work on. If that's like he's for his build, he's got to have that perk. I think the rest of his career.
He better fix it up because he was irritating last season.
Yeah, there was a bunch of plays Ben would try to throw like a fade route to him, and he just looked kind of miserable.
Like, look, Ben sucked last year. Let's be honest. But
obviously,
Claypool didn't help him out at all.
No, I mean there are a bunch of reasons why the offense just flopped last year. I'm still not a big fan of Matt Canada.
I'm not either.
I mean, this is another storyline to look out for. This is a make or break, I think, season for him too. Because I think if there's an issue again where All right, you have a new quarterback corpse. They're going to be younger. They're more mobile, so I guess that should fit the offense a little bit better. If they can't improve their scoring per game at all this season, you got to move on because
Bring back Todd Haley.
Todd Haley was great. He was a great offensive coordinator.
I don't know why. I mean, I know him and Ben clash, but like, I'm sorry that they were scheming up some crazy stuff. We were
I
scoring
know.
close to like 20 something points a game. We were like 25 points per game that season.
And they said last season the only time the offense would do well was when Ben had control, like when he would just ditch the game plan and go no
Yeah.
huddle, let Ben just fly, and that's the only time it did well, really.
Yeah, I have serious doubts about the Canadian, both Canadians, Claypool and Matt Canada.
We'll see. And as I was saying, all right, the biggest storyline we have to finish probably out the show with the quarterback situation. Mitch Trubisky looked pretty awful at times. I mean, I watched some clips of him missing people. Very Daniel Jones-esque, no drama there. But that's just there was
Respect Daniel
some
Jones, man.
what did you say?
I said respect Daniel Jones.
I know. They just said he's been very inconsistent. They said he's looked pretty mobile, so there's been a couple of flashes, but I've seen way more negative highlights than positive highlights out of Mitch Trubisky, which I hope changes by the time, I think he's starting Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against Seattle. So for his sake and for the Steelers' sake, please just have a good, 2 or 3 series or whatever. Please. This is the guy they're gonna run with this year, hopefully. They said Mason Rudolph in camp has looked almost godly. I mean, it's camp. We'll see. They said the consensus he's been the best out of all of them by like not a large margin. Out of Pickett too. I mean, because they also said Pickett started off really slow.
He's looked
Um,
great, really. I think recently I've heard.
yeah, they said recently he's picked it up, but he started off really slow and he's been slowly starting to pick it up. Which again, he's a young quarterback and they don't need him to even play this season. So
This is a thing I got in a debate with Hev about. I said, he's like, how are we going to have a quarterback, Kenny Pickett, we drafted, and we're not going to have him play the first year? I'm like, why does it matter? I mean, he's going to have a 14-year career either way. They're 14 to 15-year career either
I
way,
hope.
even if he sits a year.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
he's
hope
older,
that.
but
No, but I understand what Heaven's saying because, like,
he's the most pro ready. And, if you draft Malik Willis to sit a year, who had a great game yesterday, you get
so
more
good.
time out. He's younger and he has a higher ceiling. That's fine. But I don't really think you should throw Kenny Pickett into the fire. I really don't think you should necessarily. If he looks great, yeah, in the preseason. But I mean,
They established that Mitch Trubisky's going to be the starter. There's no debate there. Mike Tomlin, I think, even said it during one of the practice things. I mean,
I don't think it's been confirmed yet. I mean, I think if Mitch sucks in the 3 preseason games, then I think Mason or Kenny
oh my
start.
goodness, if they have Mason Rudolph starting week 1, that's going to
Here's
be
the thing with
borderline
Mason Rudolph, right? Is that
unwatchable.
we just know what we have with him, right? It's like, yeah, he's not going to throw that many picks, but if his first read is shut down, he goes into a shell. He's like, where do I go? And then he either dumps it off or he takes a sack. The guy has no pocket presence, and that's my biggest concern with him. He looks
Yeah,
great in camp because there's not really always a huge roster. You can't get sacked. And when he's got these defensive linemen down his throat, it's just like he turns into a shell of a player.
mark my words. If Mason Rudolph is starting week 1, it will be a rough season. I mean, rough. If he is their starter week 1.
Yeah. And what I've heard about Mitch, and you tell me if you've heard the same thing, is that Mitch, while being very inconsistent, his highs have been the highest highs in the entire camp.
Which makes sense because he has probably well, he's more talent, I think, than Mason Rudolph easily.
Yeah.
It's just, and then Kenny Pickett. I mean, they drafted him because he has the highest ceiling, obviously. Out of the 3 they have, he did not have the highest ceiling in the draft whatsoever. I'm saying,
No. But
out
I
of
would
Mitch
say
Trubisky and
also
Mason
we
Rudolph.
also take a grain of salt with Mitch's stats in training camp and the fact that for like 2 weeks he didn't have Deontay Johnson.
That is
Claypool got
true.
hurt right away. Fryermuth is just coming back. He was hurt for like 2 weeks. Najee Harris got hurt. So he was really running out there with a mediocre O-line at best against first team defense with Benny Snell as your starting back, Steven Sims, Miles Boykin, and George Pickens as your starting receivers.
Yeah,
He wasn't really gifted with the greatest offensive threats against a defense that should be a top 5 unit this year.
yeah. I guess the preseason would be a better gauge. I mean, outside of Najee, I feel like everyone else will get reps in, right? Is that safe to say throughout the
I
preseason?
would say so. I mean, maybe not Deontay Johnson as much. I'd say maybe bubble
Yeah,
wrap him.
and even Claypool because of the shoulder injury.
Yeah, I don't know if Claypool's like. I think we're gonna see Deontay out for a series or two. If well, he's hurt actually a little bit, so maybe not this game.
No, it'll probably be like maybe the third game or
Pickens will
um
be out there. Um,
yeah. I think Pickens is gonna ball in the preseason, and
no, he's
he's
gonna
gonna.
be insane. He just better not get hurt.
And we got to bring this up because we just talked about it before we went on air. I mean, what are your thoughts on the idea that George Pickens, I mean, for good or for bad, could potentially have a Santonio Holmes-esque career?
I
Like,
don't know. I mean, what it seems like it wasn't like it was off the field issues that was the problem for him.
it was
From
on the
what
field
I've
issues.
heard, I heard it was more like on the field, like he just gets in
Yeah,
fight. Which, whatever. I mean, I like a feisty receiver one, and number two, you can control that a little bit. I mean, you got Tomlin. He dealt with Antonio Brown, and
yeah,
and Martavis Bryant.
and Santonio Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it.
I mean, Santonio Holmes' highs were insane. He was one of the best receivers in the league. I
Yeah, he
mean,
was
that
great.
Super Bowl run, incredible.
My favorite Santonio Holmes fact is that he got the team Antonio Brown.
Yeah, it's funny. And then, like, I mean, obviously, after that, he dropped off a cliff. After that, the
Yeah, he had
Steve,
like one good year, one or two good years to the Jets, and then it was like he's done.
and were they even that good? I thought they were kind of mediocre.
The Jets with
Yeah,
him. Well, they got to the AFC Championship game twice.
that is true. I just like they weren't as good as when he was with the Steelers,
No,
like whatsoever. Because that, I mean, he willed them. I think he feel like he carried them in some of those playoff
that
games.
2008 playoffs, it was him. It was
Yeah,
really the Santonio Holmes show.
it was. Yeah, right. I mean, the Super Bowl obviously with the catch, one of the
I
greatest
mean,
catch in
think
Super
about
Bowl
it this way:
history.
he had a punt return for a touchdown against the Chargers. He had a touchdown, maybe even two against the Ravens. Then he had that entire drive. Was the Ben and Holmes show to end the game.
Oh, I know. I mean, greatest catch in Super Bowl history.
No, Tyree.
Really?
Come on, man. He caught it with his helmet. It was the greatest throw in Super Bowl.
It wasn't even a touchdown. It just moved the drive along.
You know how hard it is to catch a ball with your helmet?
If Ben, okay, going back to that catch, if Ben threw it and maybe a centimeter, like too softly, would have been picked.
That's why it's the
Centimeter too
greatest.
hard,
That's why it's the greatest throw of all time.
but not the greatest catch. The guy had to get his feet in bounds. He had like this much space in that back
It's a
corner.
great catch. But I don't know if I could say it's better than Tyree catching with his helmet, man.
He won the Super Bowl with that catch. That was the game-winning touchdown. The
No,
Tyree catch would
it's
just
one
move the
A and
drive
one
along.
B. Those Tyree and Holmes are one A and one B.
I know, and the Tyree catch I feel like was luck too.
It
I
was
mean,
luck. It
off the
wasn't as much
like
skill. I
Holmes was more skilled than
hundred
Tyree.
percent, 100%.
So how do you not say it's the greatest catch in Super Bowl history then?
I mean, I guess you could argue it. Yeah. Oh well, what about the
Julian Edelman?
Edelman catch?
Yeah, that's up there. But again, that didn't win them the Super Bowl. The Holmes catch won them the Super Bowl.
Also, another shout would be the Tyler Lockett catch against the Patriots
Yeah,
in
that
40.
catch. I mean, that and Edelman in recent memory were nuts.
That was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'd say it's up there. It's very close to the top, if not the best Holmes. But I truly think that's the greatest throw in Super Bowl history.
Oh yeah, because like again, too soft, too hard, it would have been picked or
What's
overthrown.
funny is there was a much easier play for Holmes to make than play before.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's so much easier. He dropped it. He's like, okay, let me
Yeah,
make it.
and then he broke. I think it was a slant. It was some kind of like maybe or maybe even an out route that got him into that position. Like he could have scored, I think, on the run there too potentially.
I think he slipped, right?
He slipped. That's what it was. Yeah, he slipped, and then it led to, in my opinion, the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. But people will
I think we
debate
can
that.
agree with this. It's the greatest play in Super Bowl history. Oh, maybe no. Well,
No.
no.
I don't know. There's been
If
so
you're
much.
saying it's the greatest throw and the greatest catch of Super Bowl history, how can it be a better play?
I don't know. There's been some. I mean, the Montana throw. I mean, there's been so many great Super
You
Bowl.
could also argue that it wasn't even the greatest play of that game.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. I mean, the James Harrison picked 105-yard pick six to end the half. One of the greatest moments in football history. Period.
That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, all right, we could have a whole. We should really dedicate a whole nother episode to just that discussion
Super
because,
Bowl 43 discussion.
and yeah, like we'll do like a Super Bowl 43 show where we just debate stuff from that
Yeah.
game, and even maybe we'll do the Seahawks Super Bowl as well, just from recent memory because these are the two ones.
Do you remember that one? Because I know you're
No, I do. The
2 years
Cardinals one
younger
is
than me.
obviously more vivid just because I was a little bit older, but the Seahawks one, the Randall L play, the Heinz Ward, greatness. Ben
Randall
did not
L.
have a good game. Ben really, outside of the Cardinals' second half, has not had a great Super Bowl resume whatsoever.
No, which is upsetting.
And the Packers too, he was awful. Like he wasn't
You
great.
pick six that game. If you don't throw
Yeah.
pick six, they lose it. They win that game.
Well, we
Yeah.
were talking about it yesterday. The Rashard Mendenhall fumble turned that whole game around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Curse
mean,
you.
what'd you say?
I said, curse you, Mendenhall.
I know the Steelers running backs have had the worst fumbles at the worst times. I mean, I was thinking of
Fitzgerald
Michelle
Toussaint.
Toussaint. There you go. Toussaint. Awful. Well, like awful play. I mean, he was actually a pretty decent running back. It was just terrible timing and Rashard Mendenhall as well.
Yeah. But getting back to this preseason game, I just can't wait. Apparently, Pickett's not is going to get runs with the threes, so that should be interesting.
Oh, you said Pickens. You mean Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett's
Oh,
going to get run
you
with
scared me for a
threes.
second. If George Pickens going to run with the threes, I'm getting scared. I mean, this guy he's going to be one of their go-to guys this year.
So here's what I heard: it's going to be Mitch is going to get the first quarter, Mason's going to get the second and third, and then Pickett is going to get maybe some of the third quarter, and then the rest of the game.
I mean, that's fair. That's kind of what you expect.
I don't know. I don't want to see Pickett with the threes though. I want to see him with the twos. I think
I do too, but I think if he balls with the threes, then you can easily make that argument just because he is third on the totem pole right now.
Yeah.
But I think by maybe the third game of the preseason, we could see him getting more.
Probably by the third game, he'll probably run with the twos because they probably won't risk Mitch in the third game unless it's a close quarterback battle. Because at that point, it's like Mitch is the QB1, then yeah.
And then even the fourth game, they don't really play the starters.
No fourth game anymore.
Oh, you're right. I forgot just because I'm so used to the 4 games, which I kind of like.
We played 4 games last year because the Hall of Fame game. So
yeah, I kind of like that there were 4 games just because it was like, all right.
Yeah, it was set up perfectly. First game, your players get like your starters get like 1 drive. Second game they play a quarter. Third game they play a half. Fourth game they don't play at all.
Perfect. Like that. And now you gotta take it with a grain of salt. The first game, couple of drives now. Second game.
Who knows? I have no idea how they're gonna run the second game.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that. It doesn't even make there's no right answer to that question just because you don't know. Like each team's gonna be different outside of the Steelers, depending on injuries, the depth chart at quarterback and whatever position. So that'll be definitely a storyline to watch out for the entire NFL this preseason for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back to recap this game either Sunday or Monday. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.